You might think that this is my first walk of the year, but it's not. I've managed to squeeze in one more at the end of 2025, beginning at Whitechapel. Happy New Year. This is a station that's undergone a lot of change since the opening of the Elizabeth line and probably has my favourite escalator descent on the network. And I've always been rather impressed with how they've built this concourse on top of the overground platforms, whilst managing to mostly keep the trains running below as well. It is also the only station in London to have signs in Bengali to reflect the local community. Similar to how Southall, on the other end of the Elizabeth line, is the only one to have signs in Punjabi. Whitechapel hasn't seen as much redevelopment as other stations like Woolwich and Abbey Wood, for example, on the Elizabeth line. I mean, just look at this really old building that used to be part of the Royal London Hospital. That's been closed for quite a few years now, actually. To be fair, there is actually a brand new development here, and when they were excavating this site, they came across the location of the Red Lion Playhouse. An air ambulance is landing at Royal London Hospital. I have to talk over it. This is believed to be the oldest playhouse in London post-Roman times. I'll just wait for it to land, shall I? Never lasted long, however. It opened in 1567 and closed in 1568. It's pretty incredible that the remains of it have been found after so much time. And I should also point out, because I'm in Whitechapel, that this is Jack the Ripper country. I'm actually somewhat interested in perhaps visiting the site of the canonical murders at some point and seeing how the locations have changed since then. I say Whitechapel hasn't changed that much, but some of the locations will definitely look very different to what they are today. I wonder, for example, if this layout has remained the same, a rather historical looking Ford Square here. There's also a Sydney Square nearby to it as well. I'm about to pass down Watney Street Market, which is the location of one of the first Sainsbury's. The first one was in Drury Lane in Covent Garden. This was a highly competitive area which led to the market growing to the size that it is today, and you can find along here some ventilation shafts for the underground section of the overground that used to be on the underground. This is still labelled on my map as a Percy Ingle, and I got really excited for a moment that possibly somehow they've returned, but unfortunately that's not the case. I've never walked down Watney Street before, and it leads me to Shadwell Station, or a former Shadwell Station just up from the current one that was called Shadwell and St George East to avoid confusion. Here is the current Shadwell Station on the DLR. I'm just gonna quickly walk up to the platforms. You'll see that most of the signs on the platform are pointing to the way out in that direction, so you can interchange with the overground. All of them but the very, very last sign, which does point to the lesser used way out that I came up from. Oh, Shadwell's diagram still has the Emirates airline on. Also, restricted service at West India Quay. Trains just can't stop there from here. Now, the main reason I came up here, and I mentioned this in my recent Beckton video, was because Shadwell is the only stop on a DLR that I don't have a station sign photo of. You might have noticed by now that I am currently posting every single day on my community tab a photo of every single bus route in London. Now, I guess the plan is, once I've done that in 600 plus days or whatever, that's a long time, I will transition to then posting a photo of every station. Now, I have one for every stop on a London trams. I now have one for every stop on the DLR. I'm relatively close to getting one of every single London Underground station. And then, what do we do? Every station in the country as well? I mean, there's over 2,500 of them. That's going to take many years of daily posting. I mean, I don't even have all of them yet. We've ended the year on 960 with Elmstead Woods. I think we started on 798 with Ockenden. so I still need to get so many more. And even out of the ones I have visited, there are still a few stations that I visited many years ago, before I really took an interest in taking photos or visiting stations, where I don't have a photo. So what I might do at some point next year, the progress will slow down quite a lot. We'll still probably hit 1,000 stations, but I'll spend a month or two visiting places I've been to before and doing walks in them areas just to get specific station photos. I thought I'd come and have a look at St George's East, considering it's in the name of the former station. There also seems to be some sort of disused building in the church grounds. What is this? Nature Study Museum. Okay. 1904. Was closed during the Second World War, and although this was originally to have been a temporary closure, it was never reopened and fell into disrepair. A restoration project is being planned. Oh, well, that's good. Have to come back and see if they've done anything with it in the future. Oh yeah, it actually says it on there. I didn't notice that. Nature Study Museum. Well, hang on. Metropolitan Borough of... Ooh, I can't tell. It's probably Stepney. Stepney was an old borough. I'm getting my first indication of the next stop down on the overground at Wapping, as I'm in Wapping Woods. I did actually just spot another ventilation shaft for the railway too. Wapping Wood leads quite nicely to Tobacco Dock. These are both great names, aren't they? Where I'm kind of surprised I don't think I've ever walked around here before. This is a remnant of the old London docks. Tobacco Dock here was left abandoned for many years. It's kind of opened up as workspaces now, and considering how much I love walking around the Royal Docks, I can't believe I've never really been in this area before. I'm excited to walk the Wapping Ornamental Canals, as they're known here. I can't believe I've never walked them canals before. That was delightful. It's like little Amsterdam in London, a nice bookend to where I started my month in Amsterdam. Anyways, that has brought me through to Hermitage Basin after a delightful 10-minute stroll, where apparently the world's first cast iron swing gates ever was installed here. Wow. Well, the canals and basin has led me out to the River Thames, which is just stunning. I think at this stage I'm actually opposite where the River Neckinger is making its confluence with it too. And I've got a delightful walk up it now through Wapping for quite a while actually. Now, Wapping is known for having some rather beautiful old pubs, including the town of Ramsgate here. So named because it was cheaper for fishermen from Ramsgate to fish here in the Thames rather than further into the city. Now, Ramsgate does feature in one of my earliest videos at a nice coast walk there, and the town of Ramsgate pub claims to be the oldest one in London because it dates to 1545, though it is on the site of an even earlier pub from 1460. However, because of that, it can be disputed, and we'll see one later on in Wapping, which is potentially even older. There's some great stairs you can take through Wapping, which brings you straight down to the River Thames. I almost wish that the tide was out, so we can kind of walk along the banks of it. Maybe even do some mudlarking, which is a popular activity. One of the stairs you can take is King Henry Stairs, which doesn't really exist anymore, so I have just climbed down that rather sketchy ladder, but the tide is slightly out here, so I do have a little bit of beach to walk on. And honestly, this is a rather incredible spot. It's like I've got my own private little beach, almost. It does have a dark history, this area though. It was known as Execution Dock. The last executions took place here in 1830. I've seen an image of a noose somewhere along here, but I can't seem to spot it. And someone who was hung here was Captain Kidd, William Kidd. He was a pirate, and up there's a pub named after him. Well, I've now made it up to Wapping station itself, which sits on the other end of the Thames Tunnel, Brunel's famous tunnel that was the first to be built under a navigable river anywhere in the world. And we ended my last walk at the other end of that, on the other side of the Thames, at Rotherhithe station. You got the brilliant 100 bus route that passes through Wapping as well. That offers some nice views. Starts back at Shadwell, that does. I couldn't help but not take another set of stairs down to come down to another little beach on the Thames. At this point I can actually see the ventilation shaft for the Rotherhithe Road Tunnel, and then a great old gas holder too. I just had to dash up to the wall because the Uber boat passed and it just caused humongous waves. Wow, I so could have been caught in that. Yeah, this is why you got to be careful if you're coming down to the Thames shore. Well, here it is, the other contender for London's oldest pub, the Prospect of Whitby. They love to name them after different towns, don't they? This was originally known as the Pelican. It kind of gained the nickname of the Devil's Tavern, but then it was renamed after a ship called the Prospect that would dock here from Whitby. Makes sense, I guess. Now, because the town of Ramsgate pub opened in 1545 on the site of an older pub from 1460, I would say this one beats it, as it opened in 1520, making it London's oldest pub. Oh, I see. It's behind the Prospect of Whitby where you find the noose. Wow, that's dark. How times have changed, eh? People would gather here on their boats as well and watch as someone was hung for entertainment. It's just unreal to think about nowadays, isn't it? See, Wapping doesn't feel like the most touristy area. It hasn't been too busy walking down. I never see it pop up on any like quirky places to visit in London or must-see places to visit in London, but honestly I would recommend it. I mean, you're more than definitely going to see Tower Bridge if you're coming to London, right? So just walk up the Thames from there to Wapping. You'll love it. It feels like the one place which has really cling to that former Docklands life. There's kind of nowhere else in London like it. It's brilliant. Okay, so I'm going to take a brief pause from the River Thames now to take a looped walk around Shadwell Basin, which I've seen described as taking inspiration from the Royal Albert Docks in Liverpool, and honestly I can understand why. It's given me that impression. So it's at this point of Shadwell Basin where just on the other side of that red bridge is Wapping Woods, where we were earlier. And the canal would have ran straight through to Hermitage Basin, so we've just gone all the way around Wapping basically. And I rejoin the River Thames for my final little section of it towards Limehouse today, right by the entrance to the north side ventilation shaft of the Rotherhithe Tunnel. Because of the Tideway Tunnel super sewer works, I've had to be diverted away from the Thames path, but I don't mind it, otherwise I never would have come across a blue plaque for Captain James Cook. Well, I think that's it for the Thames, because I've come across the very beginning of the Regent's Canal that leads straight into Limehouse Basin. And if you think I'm about to walk the Rotherhithe Tunnel again, then you've got another thing coming. Absolutely not. I love little discoveries like this on a walk. I've just passed by York Square and I've come across the Queen's Head pub, where I noticed there's a little blue plaque up here that says it was the inspiration behind the Queen Victoria pub in EastEnders. And you know what? With the square and the pub here, I can see it. This does genuinely feel like I've stumbled across the set of EastEnders. So I am continuing the walk a little beyond Limehouse towards Stepney. I just crossed over St Dunstan's churchyard here, and you have a little city farm, though unfortunately it is closed over the Christmas and New Year periods, which is fair enough. I can just about spot a goat hiding underneath there anyways. Oh wait, there's a cat as well. What's that doing in there? Well, I get to see some animals at least from outside of the fence. It's just occurred to me that I don't think I've ever been in Stepney City Farm, because the only time I would have passed it before was during COVID. Oh well, I'll have to come back another time then, I guess. I am now standing in Stepney Green, which does give you a clue as to where I'm ending the walk, and I'm on top of where the Elizabeth Line tunnels split, the branch to Shenfield and the branch to Abbey Wood. That's what this big old building is behind me. This was a construction area, a portal down to the tunnels. That's a charming clock tower as you leave Stepney Green. I love the look of that. There's also, just to the north of the city farm, the remains of an old Baptist church that got bombed during World War II and has been lying here derelict ever since. And another remains I wanted to come and have a look at was the former Stepney gasworks, where the base of one of the holders here can still be visible, or half of it at least. I like that they've been retained right in the middle of this newish development. The gasworks would have survived up until around the mid-20th century. And that pathway leads quite nicely out onto the Regent's Canal on its journey up from Limehouse Basin. So I'm going to take a very short walk along it and then try and find a station to head home. And we end not just the walk but the year at Stepney Green Station, where since its opening in 1902 it hasn't really changed a whole lot. There's a fantastic original to the train sign. And although the platforms are perhaps a little dingy, I think it paints a perfect picture of what early underground travel was like. None of this ultra modern Jubilee Line extension or Elizabeth Line stations. I am very happy that I've just had the most perfect weather today for this walk, and quite honestly I do think that was one of my favourite walks of the year on the last day of the year. Thank you for coming along with me on my adventures throughout 2025. Stick around for more adventures next year, or this year. It's this year for you. You know what I mean. Alright, bye. As soon as I pressed record, the siren went off. Oh, as soon as I press record, you do an announcement.